I challenge you to change your mind and see what happens. So I'm watching a Keith Lee interview right now, and he's talking about his journey from Detroit to Vegas to MMA to now being Keith Lee as we know it, as we know him today. And it made me think about my journey, or even being curious about what your journey has been like, because in his life and what he's sharing, he had nothing really going for him. And when they moved to Vegas, his brother was a fighter. And we know that Keith Lee had his journey with MMA. He was signed. He had the opportunity to make money as a fighter. He was doing well until he wasn't. And he lost everything in that space, in that dream, in that vision of this was supposed to work and now it's not. What do I do? Back is against the wall. Pressure's on. Kids are hungry, diapers got to be purchased. Like, he had a lot of pressure and weight on his life, but something deeper was speaking to him, God, to show up, share his journey. Whether he realized it or not in that moment, he got up and put in that work and trusted whatever was going to come from that is going to benefit him. And maybe I'm summarizing it from my perspective, but I think about all the times where I thought I was supposed to go to this high school. I thought I was supposed to go to this college. I thought I was going to be doing this type of work. I thought I was all of these shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And there was a point in time in my life where I held on to those as regrets or what ifs. And it's not like high school, you could go redo high school after you've graduated. So I couldn't change that. I couldn't change my financial situation. So I had to go to the colleges that I went to. I couldn't change the fact that I needed to get a job. So I got a job. It wasn't until I decided to change my mind when I realized there was more out there for me. The seed was planted. There has to be more out there. There has to be more to life than just pushing these papers around. And that's no disrespect to the work I did leading up to that point, but I had just been doing it for so long, not realizing that I was on a hamster wheel. And I had neglected my potential. I had neglected my dreams, my goals, my fun for so long that I was just out here surviving. But I didn't have the real life pressures of a mortgage or kids or anything like that. Thank God at the moment. So I still realized, okay, there's still a chance. There's still a window. There's still a window for me to take a risk here. What is that going to look like? And who do I need to become to get there? So 8 years ago, I quit my job. I did a story time on that a couple posts back. So if you want to go check that out, you can. But it wasn't the day I said I quit that changed my life. It was all of the work previously 10 years ago that I started to do on myself. And in order to change my environment, to change my mind, to find whatever that more was going to be. And so now my shoulda, coulda, wouldas are turning into, I'm doing it. It's done. I did it. Because I said, enough is enough. So as I document my journey for the next 40 days and think about my past mistakes, my past wins, and how I've changed my life, I had to sit down and get real with myself and get honest with myself. What is holding me back? At the time, it was a lack of money. What am I spending my money on? Partying. What's more important, me or the party? Me. So we got to get rid of the partying. I need to get a new job, but I don't want to get stuck in that job because I need money. So I'm going to start saving money. So I started saving money by not partying as much. You see what I'm getting at? It's a sacrifice, but it wasn't a sacrifice that hurt me. It helped me. It allowed me to filter out who was real, who wasn't. Where was I spending quality time Or was I wasting time? And as much as I love those people that were in my life, they weren't helping me. They were hurting me. And I allowed my circumstances to become my identity. So had I not made those choices, which were temporary, don't get me wrong, I started partying again until I felt like, no, I'm done last year. And when I say partying, let me be specific, drinking. It was the drinking part I did not enjoy. I love a good party. I love a good party. And stick around if you want to hear my sobriety journey. Someone once called me performative for saying that I don't like drinking or I quit drinking. Performative. It hurt me really bad. Like, it made me want to cry. I might have even cried later that day. Anyway, you're going to experience a lot of pushback. People aren't going to understand the choices you're making, especially when they're so used to you showing up in a specific or certain way in their lives. The role you play in their life is going to change. But if you know you're called to something bigger or different from what you're doing currently, you have to be willing to let go of the life you currently live. Even the people that are encouraging you, motivating you, keep them close. But this is something you have to do. More recently, I started coaching women in their 50s. Not because I advertised it, that's just what I seem to be attracting at the moment. And hearing them talking about, I'm starting over, but I don't know where to start. I don't know who I am. That's why I opened up my series with, who am I? Who am I? Because a lot of us don't know who we are. We're just collecting experiences along the way, but do we really enjoy them? When was the last time you took a vacation for you? When was the last time you sat and read a book? Do you like reading? Maybe you love reading, but you haven't read a book in forever. Maybe you want to become a content creator. Maybe you want to change jobs. Maybe you just don't want to work. I don't know what your calling is or how, but what I do know is speaking to these women in their 50s and hearing them say, I did the mom thing, I did the work thing, but I never stopped to check in with myself and find out and learn who I am in this process. So I would ask simple questions like, well, do you have any hobbies? And they'd say no. And I say, okay, well, are you curious about trying something or traveling anywhere? And then you start to see the wheels turning. Yeah, like I always wanted to travel overseas, or I just want to spend more time with my friends, or people keep telling me I need to get on YouTube, but I don't know how to start. And I said, yes, that's the real work. That is what we need to be tapping into. So ask yourself today, where you're sitting at, what is it that you want to experience? Who is it you want to embody? And how can you make space for that in your life currently, regardless of cost or time? Because there are definitely moments where I let money stop me from doing certain things. But that ends up being a lack of faith on my part. Like sometimes it will require you to take a risk. And maybe that risk at first is simply just paying, I don't know how much it is these days, $100, $200 to go get your passport. And you don't take a trip for another year, but you have the passport, you're ready, versus, gosh, I really want to travel overseas, but I just can't afford it right now. And that right now is going to turn into 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because you never changed your mind. So I challenge you to change your mind. And see what happens.